Welcome, deep divers. Okay, picture this. A being, naked, suffering, floating on the Ganges, but adorned with garlands. It's a really striking image, isn't it? Almost haunting. What could that possibly be? What's the story? Well, today we're diving into a truly fascinating set of ancient narratives. These come from a part of a larger work, the Cūḷavagga, and we're zooming in on the Petavatthu, which for us translates to stories about beings. Well, beings in a state of suffering, in a kind of spiritual realm. Our mission for this deep dive, we want to explore these incredible tales and really understand this profound link between what you do in this life and what you might experience in the next. We're going to uncover the maybe surprising power of generosity, of ethical conduct, and you'll see how even acts that seem small can ripple through time, shaping destinies. It's stark sometimes, but also hopeful.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, it's not just about, old fables for entertainment. They offer a really deep exploration into karma and rebirth. That's a core theme in so many spiritual traditions, right? And these narratives, they vividly show the why behind suffering, the why behind well-being. They paint these really clear pictures, the direct consequences of our choices. We'll look at, I think, about 10 distinct stories today, each one detailing specific actions and their, well, often surprising, sometimes quite shocking outcomes. And crucially, we'll also explore how compassion, how these meritorious deeds can actually step in, how they offer a path to relief.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. These petas, the suffering beings you mentioned, what exactly are they? What do the stories tell us about their situation? Is it just generic bad luck, or is it described in more, well, specific ways, harrowing ways even?
Oh, their conditions are definitely harrowing. The stories consistently describe them as miserable, unfortunate, dugata is the word used, beings belonging to a spiritual realm, often linked with yama, judgment, the afterlife. And they're depicted very specifically, often quite graphically, actually. For instance, they're frequently described as naked nago and emaciated kisa. You can see their veins, almost skeletal. They suffer from extreme hunger, chata pamuchita, and just unbearable thirst. And there's this sense of intense fear, distress, uttasanta mahata. They're haunted by it. In some of the, let's say, more extreme cases, their suffering involves self-harm or even being consumed by other creatures, and this directly reflects their past deeds. It's a kind of visceral cosmic justice.
Wow, that sounds incredibly vivid and honestly quite terrifying. You mentioned past deeds, and that's where it gets really insightful, I think. What specific actions, according to these stories, led these beings into such awful states? It sounds like the sources give us these incredibly direct, almost literal examples, like the suffering perfectly mirrors the misdeeds.
Exactly. That's the key. It's not just about punishment. It's this ancient understanding of cosmic balance, maybe, where the nature of the suffering perfectly mirrors the nature of the misdeed. It's a very visceral lesson. So yeah, many narratives highlight very specific past actions leading to particular forms of suffering, not just vague misfortune, direct, almost poetic consequences.
Let's dive into some examples then, because they are quite striking. First, you mentioned stinginess,
Yeah.
withholding things.
Certainly. Yeah, take the story of beings who made no island for themselves. That's the phrasing. When they had chances to give, they didn't. It's a powerful metaphor, right? Not preparing, not building good karma. These individuals, they were often greedy. Maybe they even spoke badly of people who did give. And the consequence. In their next existence, they're naked, famished, experiencing the very lack they caused or, feared sharing. There's another really potent example, a woman who found a valuable coin in life, but instead of making offerings, she hid her wealth, concealed it. Her specific suffering in the peta realm. She goes to a river thirsty and it just turns empty. She looks for shade from the heat and it becomes scorching sun.
Oh, yeah.
Her desire for comfort, for accumulation, it's directly inverted. Perpetual deprivation.
It's a stark image, a river drying up just as you reach it. Wow. It's almost like the universe itself is responding directly. And it's not just about material stuff, is it? These texts also talk about like deceitful speech, bad actions.
Absolutely. The stories are very clear about the power of words, the importance of integrity. There's one particularly graphic story, describes a peta who eats, excrement, impure, unpleasant, her past deed, lying, concealing provisions. She actually said, "There's nothing in my house," when she had plenty. She even sort of wished for excrement as food if she was lying, and tragically that became her reality.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And another tale, a magnificent-looking being, strangely, consumes their own backflesh.
What? Why?
It's the result of slander, false speak, deceit, fraud, even perverting justice. So undermining truth and justice, It literally comes back to gnaw at them.
That's a profound lesson in being careful what you say.
Yeah.
And the consequences also cover actively harming others too, right? Like physical harm.
Yes, quite explicitly. There are these two identical stories, actually, about a cruel hunter. He's described as lohita tajidarun, bloody-handed, cruel, ruthless, actively harmed animals, his suffering. He's devoured by dogs during the day. It's direct karmic retribution. The hunter becomes the hunted, experiences the same fear, the same pain he inflicted.
And finally, this is interesting, even just hindering good deeds can have bad consequences.
It is interesting, yeah. That nuance is there. One story tells of a peta with a foul-smelling mouth, eaten by worms, suffering intense pain, being cut, sprinkled with caustic stuff. Horrible. His past deed. He stopped his wife, his daughter-in-law from bringing offerings, flowers, perfume to a stupa, a sacred monument.
So just stopping someone else from doing good.
Exactly. It shows that obstructing another's chance to do good is itself a significant misdeed, a warning against cynicism maybe, or jealousy when others are being devout.
These situations sound truly dire, don't they? But you mentioned hope. These narratives aren't just about suffering, they offer a way out. How can these beings find relief? Is there a path away from these karmic traps?
That's the crucial next step, and it's where the stories offer a clear solution. The most prominent path, the most detailed one, is the transfer of merit. Specifically, it's achieved through offerings made by living relatives on behalf of the deceased.
So people still living can help those who've passed on.
Precisely. It's a profound idea. Good deeds done now by the living can actually alleviate suffering in another realm.
And there's that story of the monk, son of Asen, you mentioned. It provides a really detailed example of this working, almost step by step.
Indeed, it's incredible. This monk, son of Asen, his own family, mother, father, brother, they'd become petas because of past bad actions. They were described as tsuchikate, needle-thin, basically, naked, utterly exhausted. And his peta brother actually appears to him, begs for help. The text says he pleads, "Please be compassionate, give, and dedicate it to us. Anukampasu karuchko datva anvadi shohinos." So the monk, he systematically gathers offerings and dedicates them. And the results, immediate, miraculous, really. First, food. He gets alms, invites the sangha, the monastic community, for a meal, dedicates the merit. Instantly, the text says, "Suchipata sampana, pure, excellent, complete food, amazing flavors appears for his family." Starvation gone.
Just like that. Wow.
Just like that. Then, clothes. His brother, now fed, asks for clothes. So the monk collects rags, makes robes, dedicates them. Immediately, Vatani Upapajisu clothes appear, luxurious ones. Silk, wool, linen, cotton. Their nakedness vanishes.
That's amazing.
And it continues. Shelter. They ask for homes. He builds a simple leaf hut, offers it, dedicates it. Boom garani Upapajisu garani Vasana. Mansions appear. Gabled roofs. Perfectly divided. Better than human or even divine dwellings, the text says.
Okay, this is really something.
Then drink. They ask for water. He fills a pot, offers it, dedicates it. Immediately, drinking water appears in these beautiful, deep, square ponds. Cool, fragrant, covered in lotuses.
From thirst to abundance.
Exactly. And finally, transport. Their feet hurt from walking on rough ground. He gets a shoe bag, offers it, dedicates it. And suddenly, Petera, Rathina Magamu, the Pekas, arrive in a chariot. This whole sequence, it just clearly shows the tangible, immediate power of dedicating merit.
It's almost like spiritual crowdfunding. Your generous acts manifest directly for those who need it. That's incredible. And that other story, the woman by the dry river Syrian, that also shows this, right?
Mm-hmm.
She guides someone to her hidden treasure.
Exactly. So her mother can make donations for her. And that act transforms her from that miserable, thirsty being into a radiant one. It really drives home the power of selfless giving, even if it's, facilitated after death.
Okay, but it's not always so straightforward, is it? Good actions, good results, bad actions, bad results. You mentioned karma can be more mixed.
That's right. What's fascinating here is that karma isn't presented as some simple binary equation. Some stories definitely highlight how mixed actions lead to mixed results. It shows a more nuanced understanding. It's not always all or nothing.
That seems important. Let's go back to the hunter we talked about. His story sounds like a key example of this mixed karma. How did his actions lead to such a sort of divided fate?
It's a classic case. These Amigaluda Petavatthu stories describe how, he was cruel, refused to stop killing initially. But his friend, a faithful devotee, managed to persuade him to at least show some restraint. Specifically, he agreed to stop killing at night.
Just at night.
Just at night. And his consequence in the peta realm reflects this perfectly. Ratahat parikarami divakajami dugato. At night, he enjoys divine pleasures, but by day, he's eaten by those dogs, miserable. Suffering by day for his daytime killing, but enjoying this non-human divine pleasure at night because of his nightly restraint, it clearly shows even partial good deeds bring partial relief.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the story of the abandoned boy, the Kumara Petavatthu? That sounds really dramatic, extreme suffering, but also a prophecy of great fortune. That points to mixed karma too, right?
Absolutely. A very dramatic example. This boy abandoned at a charnel ground, suffering horribly. Dogs, crows, other creatures eating him, just awful. Yet, a Buddha prophesies he'll become very wealthy later.
How does that work?
His past actions explain it. He initially had anyatata, ill will, and he spoke vaka abhasi furuse asapa, harsh, rude words during a big offering event for the monks. That was the negative seed that led to the suffering. But later, he repented deeply. He established joy and faith, piti pasada patapacha. And then sincerely, he offered gruel for 7 days straight to the Buddha.
Ah, so he turned it around.
Exactly. His initial suffering came from that negative thought, that harsh speech. But his future prosperity, that stemmed from his later repentance and his generous offering. This story is just beautiful. It shows how intentions, how later actions can profoundly shift your karmic path, even within the same life, leading to these complex, mixed results. It really says redemption is always on the table.
So let's bring this all together. What does this mean for you listening now as you go about your life? These ancient stories from the Cūḷavagga, these petas stories, they're more than just interesting afterlife tales, aren't they?
Definitely more. If we connect this to our daily lives, they provide a really powerful framework, a way to understand the ethical weight of our everyday choices. These stories are, well, a stark reminder that actions have consequences, whether they show up right away or later, and those consequences can echo the nature of our deeds in surprisingly literal ways. They really highlight the profound impact of generosity, Dana, not just for others, but for our own well-being, our own future states. Giving freely creates huge future benefit. The stories show again and again. They emphasize how critical, truthful, compassionate speech is, warning against slander, deceit, those harsh words. They underscore the value of just, refraining from harm, cultivating kindness towards everyone, all living beings, and maybe most profoundly, they show that redemption, transformation, it's possible through sincere, meritorious actions, even actions done on behalf of others, offering a way to ease suffering, to chart a better course.
So as we close this deep dive, maybe consider this. The stories in the petas, yeah, they're suffering from the echoes of their past deeds, but they also show us that no act of kindness, no act of generosity is ever really lost. What small, conscious act of giving, or maybe an ethical choice? What could you make today that might just ripple through your own future? Or maybe even benefit those around you in ways you can't even imagine right now?
Yeah, and that idea that knowledge is most valuable when you actually understand it, when you apply it, that feels really relevant here. These stories, they encourage us to look at our own actions, don't they? To cultivate compassion, and maybe, just maybe, inspire us to actively make that island for ourselves through good deeds, to ensure a better journey, wherever it might lead.